The Oklahoma Sooners defense dominated while the offense left a little to be desired.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, Sooner Nation? Welcome to Locked On Sooners, and thank you for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. Today's episode is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. 5 Hour Energy fixes tired fast with zero sugar and a convenient portable size. It's the perfect pick-me-up for getting stuff done. Go to 5hourenergy.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCFB to receive 20% off your order. This offer is only valid until September 30th on one order and cannot be used with other promotions. Go to 5hourenergy.com today. I'm John Williams. You can follow me on Twitter at John9Williams. The show is at Locked On Sooners. And again, shout out to all the everydayers. We've got football to finally talk about. The Oklahoma Sooners opened the season with a 51-3 win over the Temple Owls in front of a great crowd in Norman on a Friday night, honoring the 1974-1975 national championship teams. And it was a game that kind of honored the 1974-1975 national championship teams. The defense was absolutely dominating. They were suffocating from the opening whistle to the end of the game. Oklahoma's defense did not allow the Temple Owls to get really much going at all. And even when they did, Oklahoma's defense was able to respond and push them back. Oklahoma's defense recorded 6 turnovers, 6 sacks, 9 tackles for loss, and you got contributions from everybody. It wasn't just Danny Stutzman or Billy Bowman, although Billy Bowman had an opportunity at an interception, which could have potentially been Oklahoma's 7th turnover of the game. But you got contributions from all kinds of guys, from the defensive tackle group, from the edge group, the linebackers, the defensive backs, from seniors on the team to true freshmen. It was just an impressive defensive performance. In addition to the turnovers, Oklahoma held Temple to less than 2 yards a carry. And to me, that's a really, really strong number. Under 200 total yards, on 36 rushing attempts, only allowed 69 net rushing yards, only allowed a 4 for 13 on third down. This was a game in which Oklahoma dominated from the outset, and it would have been really, really easy to let up at different times. And there were times where you thought, okay, maybe this is where Temple's going to break through and maybe get into the end zone. But only one drive was Temple able to actually get into scoring range, and they got inside Oklahoma's red zone, and then the Sooners responded with back-to-back sacks, pushed them out to a 3rd and 22 situation where then they had to settle for a field goal. So I really, really, really liked what we got out of the defense. Brent Venables mentioned it in his post-game press conference that there are going to be tougher tests for this defense. That was obvious going into it. It's obvious now, and I still like what we saw. It was a group that rallied to the football really, really well. After the first couple of possessions or so, I thought they tackled really, really well. Even early on, when maybe there were a couple missed tackles, well, you had an Ethan Downs come from behind and strip the quarterback of the ball. I thought they were playing physical, and I thought they were playing fast, and that's what led to a lot of those turnovers. I mean, it was hard hits that were jarring the ball loose, or it was a physical swipe at the football as a runner was going forward. I thought the pass rush was pretty good, in particular from the defensive tackle group. Guys like Grayson Halton were getting really, really good pressure. Jaden Jackson, I thought, was getting a really good push against Temple's interior. I saw, Ashton Sanders and Marcus Strong making plays as well. I thought Dominic Williams had a really, really strong debut. And then Dejon Terry played well. I thought the interior defensive tackle group played really, really well. The edge group, I thought they did a really good job making sure to contain, not allowing the Temple rushing attack to get outside very, very often. And then you look at kind of the passing attack for Temple. The dude's not an accurate thrower, so it's kind of hard to gauge exactly what Oklahoma was going up against on that front. Again, they'll face much more difficult passing offenses. Maybe not next week against Houston, but down the road they will. But I thought overall, this was a strong statement from this Sooners defense. If you get defensive performances like this, it helps to kind of mitigate what you saw on the offensive side of the ball, which is going to be a lot of what carries the discussion this week. And we'll discuss a lot of this with Jay when we record normally on Sunday night for our Monday episode. But just initial reactions, I mean, you got to like where Zach Alley and Brent Venables have this defense going into the season. It's a confident group, a bunch that kind of like the Oklahoma softball team was celebrating all the little things. But again, to get 2 interceptions, to force 4 fumbles and recover those. You got a special teams touchdown when Lewis Carter knocked a ball loose and Jaron Kanek scooped and scored. I think it was really, really nice to see everybody kind of have their hand in the pot. You know, Billy Bowman almost had an interception. You got the Kendall Dolby deflection that led to a Kanai Walker interception. You had Robert Spears Jennings forcing a fumble. You had Ethan Downs forcing a fumble. Grayson Halton forcing a fumble. So it was a good team effort across the board. And you got to see a lot of guys play. And I thought Kobe McKenzie looked really good at linebacker. I really like the duo of Stutzman and McKenzie. That's just a big tandem at linebacker. But they also looked really good whenever Kip Lewis was in the game too. So it's a lot to like from the defensive side of the ball. You didn't have Woody Washington playing. I think there were maybe some other guys that were being held out on defense as Oklahoma. Gentry Williams in particular was one of those guys being held out on defense. As you just understand, you don't have to play everybody against Temple to go beat Temple like the way you did. And even as they held guys out, the defense only gave up 3 points. Again, held Temple to less than 2 yards per carry, under 200 total yards for the game, 6 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. Just a strong effort all in all from the Sooners defense. Not necessarily so much from the Sooners offense, but I think there's a lot to positively take away. We'll discuss some of the things that maybe didn't go great and where they have to improve. And then we got to talk special teams because, hey, maybe special teams is coming together. We'll discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners. Fuel up with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. Meet your wellness goals thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have the time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? With 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week, you'll always have new flavors to explore. So head to factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 and use code lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code lockedoncollege50 at factormeals.com/lockedoncollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. We're also brought to you today by eBay Motors. For passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So the Oklahoma Sooners offense was good at times, and yet it did leave a lot to be desired. We got to see Jackson Arnold play an efficient game. It was not an explosive game. It was not, a big passing number game. He had 147 yards passing on 25 attempts. That's less than 6 yards per attempt. Not great. But understanding what they were dealing with along the offensive line, Branson Hickman got hurt early in this game. You were down Jake Taylor, so you were down 2 of your starters, and they were mixing and matching throughout this game to find a suitable combination as the Oklahoma Sooners were just trying to get through the Temple game, to be honest. Brent Venables has already said that Jake Taylor will be back next week. Branson Hickman is going to be a situation to monitor as he hurt his ankle. We saw Gary Hatchett, Joshua Bates play the rest of the game at center for the Oklahoma Sooners. But they did do some nice things. Fabechi Wiwu, he looked really, really good as a run blocker throughout the game. Some of the bigger holes that they opened were on that right side of the offensive line. Spencer Brown, we got to get Jake Taylor back. That did not look great at times, and he was getting beat sometimes pretty easily by some of the speed rushes from the Temple defense, and one time just got blown up, and Jackson Arnold tried to escape the pocket to his left away from the pressure coming from his right, and then pretty much walked into that pressure that led to the intentional grounding, and that wasn't really intentional grounding that they ended up picking up the flag for. But the offensive line as a whole, I think, is still going to be a work in progress. We're not going to see a finished product there maybe all year. But if we even go back to last year, the guys that started game 1 weren't necessarily the same guys that started game 7. Caden Green wasn't a week 1 starter for the Sooners. He came in down the road as, they realized that the size that they had on the interior wasn't quite what they needed. So give it time. Definitely concerning. It's definitely concerning the offensive line. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you it's not, because there were a lot of times in the first half where the run game didn't look like it was materializing at all. They ran for over 200 yards as a team, but 130 of those rushing yards came in the second half, and 66 of those rushing yards came on the final drive when Taylor Tatum just ate them up. So I think there's some room to be concerned about the offensive line, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see if it materializes. If we get to Tennessee and it looks like this, it's going to be a long day for the Oklahoma Sooners offense. And thankfully, the Oklahoma Sooners have a defense that can kind of keep them in some games, and they don't necessarily have to worry too much about an offense that has to score 50 points a game to win, because they've got a defense that's going to be able to hold some teams in check. But we'll dive more into the offensive line. We'll continue to talk about some of the issues that they had and dealt with later this week. But let's talk about some of the positives. I did think Jackson Arnold played a good game. He played the game that was there for him to play. I wrote on social media, I wish they would throw to the sticks a little bit more on some of these third downs. Up until the final drive, they'd been 0 for 11 on third down, which is not great. You need to be more efficient than that. That's a money down. Teams that win football games, they win third down, both offense and defense. But a lot of what was happening with the Oklahoma Sooners passing attack is Brennan Thompson, Bauer Sharp. A lot of these wide receiver routes, tight end routes on third down were either stopping short of the sticks or Jackson Arnold was throwing it before they got to the sticks. So again, something that can be cleaned up and be a little bit better. I mean, in the first quarter alone, 2 or 3 times I felt like Brennan Thompson was catching a ball on a drag or a short in and was short of the first down marker. One time, if he would have just not tried to cut and gain more yardage, if he had just gone for the first down, they would have converted a first down and not have to go for it on fourth. But that didn't happen, didn't materialize. They had to go for it on fourth. And hey, they were pretty good on fourth. They were 3 for 3 on fourth down, which that's an encouraging sign. The other part of that, and this is something we'll have to get into with Jay, is you can clearly see that Brent Venables believes in an analytical approach to fourth down decisions. When they're in plus side of the 50 and it's fourth and short, man, they're going. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to go for it. And I love that. I love that they're going to be an aggressive football team and try to have as many possessions and as many plays on offense as possible. But Jackson Arnold played really good. I thought that, Bauer Sharp, hey, I was impressed. I thought he was solid. That's what you need out of your tight end. You need a 5 for 47. You need a 5 for 60 game on a regular basis. You need to kind of average that throughout the season. Is he going to be Mark Andrews? No. Is he going to be Jermaine Gresham? No. But I think he can be productive enough to have a Braden Willis type season where he has like 50 receptions, 500 something yards, 5 touchdowns. If he can put that line together for Oklahoma, that'll be pretty good. Now, given the wide receiver situation, which we'll talk about in a second, maybe you need more from him. Maybe you need him to have this big time breakout where you're looking at the end of the season, you're like, man, this dude has a chance to go on and be a top 100 pick in the NFL draft and have a long career as a tight end. But I'm not going to quite put those expectations on him just yet. Again, if he can go and just be solid and be better than what we got at tight end last year, be similar to what we got at tight end in 2022, then it's going to help open up a lot for your offense. The other wide receivers, Deion Burks, dude, that dude is a star, like a star in the making. They didn't really seem to get him involved in the intermediate to deep passing game, but what he did in the short area passing game, I thought was really productive. Obviously, he's got the 3 touchdown grabs in the red zone. He's going to be a really, really difficult matchup for opposing teams in the red zone because he can go anywhere. He can run any route, and his quickness and his speed are going to create nightmares for opposing defenses. So really, really like what Jackson Arnold and Deion Burks got going on early in the season. Is he going to catch 3 touchdown passes every week? No. But, I mean, he's off to a great start already. And the first Oklahoma Sooner wide receiver to score 3 touchdowns in their debut, pretty impressive. Now, it's a different era of college football in that you can be a very, very experienced wide receiver and now come make your debut for Oklahoma and have an opportunity to do something like that. So impressive performance from him. Again, I thought the running backs, it's hard to necessarily judge the running backs based on what you got out of the offensive line, but I did feel like Gavin Sawchuk was a bit hesitant at times. Javonte Barnes, I thought, ran well. He just wasn't able to create a whole lot more than what was blocked at times, but I liked his downhill approach. And you saw the same thing with Sam Franklin. When he got downhill, when the runners got downhill and got downhill quick, they were able to make a little bit more happen, at least gain some positive yardage. Gavin Sawchuk at times, it felt like he was just being a little bit too patient. In the second half, I thought he corrected some of that where he just got downhill, or there was a fourth and short, and they went with Gavin Sawchuk, and he just got downhill quick, lowered his shoulder, picked up the first down, no muss, no fuss. Oklahoma was able to continue the drive. And then obviously Taylor Tatum at the end of the game. I'm not going to overblow this. I do think Taylor Tatum's going to be great. I think he's going to have a really, really nice career for the Oklahoma Sooners. But again, last drive of the game against an already defeated Temple team. I'm not saying that they weren't giving their all, but it would not be surprising if Temple really kind of had run out of gas by that point, but looked really, really good. I mean, Taylor Tatum showed the speed, showed the lateral agility, the quickness that makes you believe he's going to be a fantastic player at the collegiate level. 4 carries, 66 yards, got the 8-yard touchdown run at the end of the game, and just really looked good. So a lot to be encouraged about on that front. This is a team that needs their wide receivers to be healthy. Jaden Gibson is gone, done for the year. Nick Anderson was sitting out this game. Jalil Farooq, Brent Venables reveals, is out 6 to 8 weeks. That's a tough blow. And so you're going to need Deion Burks to be really, really good. There was a lot of, I don't want to say hype, but a lot of positive buzz about a guy like J.J. Hester coming out of fall camp. And man, he did not play well. That's the only real thing you can say about it. The only positive contribution he got was drawing the personal foul conduct or penalty in the end zone when he was blocking. Got his helmet ripped off, and the refs threw a flag for unnecessary roughness. That was about the only positive impact he had. Maybe he had some as a blocker. I have to go back and watch that and just to see what he did. But as a receiver, he's got some work to do. Got to find the ability to concentrate and bring in some of those balls, because there was one down the sideline that Jackson Arnold just put on a rope. He basically handed it to him. It was such a good ball, and Hester couldn't come up with the ball. You're going to see some of these true freshmen now. You're going to see Ivan Carrion and Zion Kearney and Zion Raggins, Jaquaze Petaway, who was, again, a 2023 signing. He's going into his second year with the Sooners. You're going to see him. And some of these young dudes are going to have to step up now with the injury to Farooq, with Jaden Gibson being gone out for the season, with Nick Anderson being hobbled through fall camp and held out of this one. Now you're going to have to rely upon some of that youthful depth that you've got, that Emmett Jones has done a really nice job of building up, but it's unproven depth now. you don't have a lot of margin for error. You don't have a lot of room for any more injuries to your wide receiver core, especially at the top. And this team is going to need Nick Anderson to be healthy and healthy all season long, because they certainly missed his big body out there and his experience out there in week 1 against Temple. Special teams, I thought, played really, really well. I thought they were good. Tyler Keltner, 3 field goals, 3 for 3, including a 50-yarder. And then again, you got, I thought Peyton Bowen looked good on the punt return. And then you got the Lewis Carter forced fumble, Jaron Kanik fumble return for a touchdown. So, I mean, a positive start for the Oklahoma Sooners. Was it perfect? It wasn't perfect. It wasn't the most impressive performance by the Sooners, but it was an encouraging start. And if they can get healthy, and if the offensive line can stabilize a little bit and be a little bit better than what they were this week, then they'll have a chance to be good, and they'll have a chance to contend for a playoff spot. But based on what we saw right now, there's a lot of work to do. But defense really, really good. Offense pretty good, despite an offensive line that was dealing with some turnover and some uncertainty throughout the game and going into the game. So, we'll continue to break this game down and talk more about it as we, get to, Monday and Tuesday, and then look ahead to Houston. But just wanted to provide some initial reaction to this game because, hey, we get college football back and you're tuned in, you're here, you're subscribed, and you're ready. So I'd love to hear what y'all's thoughts were. What were your takeaways, your most impressive performances? Who were kind of the stars of the game for you? What is something that Oklahoma's got to fix? How concerned are you about the offensive line? Because it's definitely a concern. Is it a bigger concern than what it was going into the game? I don't know. If this persists into Houston, then maybe we've got a big time concern on our hands as the 2024 season unfolds. But tell me what you thought about Jackson Arnold's performance. Do you think that we've got something in a guy like Taylor Tatum? Deion Burks, is he going to be that truth? What about the defense? What did you think about the defense? But that's going to do it for this episode. It's initial reaction of Oklahoma's 51-3 win over the Temple Owls. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast, free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube. Also, hit that notification bell over there to let you know when new episodes drop. Follow the show on all the social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, at Locked On Sooners. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports, myself at John9Williams. And we'll be back to, again, further break down this game, getting to a little bit more of the nitty gritty. We'll get Jay's reaction to the game as well on our Monday episode. So again, make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. But until next time, I'm John Williams. Catch you then. Boomer Sooner.